Isn't this view incredible, boy? There they are.
Hello guys, David Vose here. I hope you're having a wonderful day where you are.
Oh boy. Wow. Well, guys, as I said, I hope you're having a wonderful day, because today we're going to look into something that, for those of you who know how to look and know how to see and can receive what I'm sharing with you today, I believe that we can, or you and I, and all of the subscribers and individuals who watch this video, if you're intuitive and you can understand or perceive the importance of what I'm going to say today, you can possibly do something with this. And I say possibly because it really kind of depends on a couple of things, but we can narrow down the possibilities of what's about to happen. As you guys know, those of you who watch my videos a lot, the last few videos we've talked about and we've shown how it's clear, we're pretty sure that at least the world, the bankers, the politicians, the Illuminati, the bad guys, the governments, all the peoples who run this psyop, they are definitively, precluding some strange anomaly that I don't foresee, but they are planning to ramp up what they've been doing. And right around the end of Trump's presidency, they're going to have AI basically become the world governor. There might be some people still involved, or, talking heads or something, but AI is going to be running the show by 2029, early 2029. And that's, also the financial system. And that financial AI system, we already know what it is. Well, we know for sure it ain't no good. And after 2029 or thereabouts, I'm not going to have anything to do with it. If they're going to ask me to do anything or sign anything, or I don't even know how long, up to 2029, even between now and then, whether or not we're going to be able to use it, the system at all. And I'm just talking about the money that we've been using for, our entire lifetime. We use banks. We have money. We buy and sell. Well, obviously, the book of Revelation talks about buying and selling and getting the mark of the beast. And so we don't know where this is going to play out in that respect. We definitely know that the system's evil, but it's been evil. And up to now, it's still the same system. We've been using more or less a digital money for a while now. There are no gold standards. There's nothing, nothing but thin air. Paper money. We're still going to have, for a while, some paper money. I don't know when that's going to go away. Coins, and now we're going to bitcoins and stable coins and things. Well, it would be good to know what exactly they're planning and how long we can continue to buy and sell. Now, you say, oh, come on, Dave, don't be cheating. The Lord says, get out of Babylon. You don't need to be buying and selling anymore. Well, that's true. I agree with that, except here's the caveat. To prepare myself, and for you guys to prepare yourselves for what is going to happen somewhere around 2029, early 2029, or maybe the end of 2028, by the end of Trump's presidency, somewhere around there, when they will, and they have determined they're going to roll out AI and the one world government and all this one world financing ironclad worldwide, probably about that time. And this isn't me, but this is, and you'll see as we go along how I'm asking questions. And, I don't know if I've even put that part of it out where I've been talking to AI and we've confirmed beyond a doubt. I think I did a video a couple days ago that had that part in it. What they're planning, for 2029. And then we talked about singularity, which they think is going to happen in 2033. And by that time, there's no way out. You're done. There's no way to ever change it. We are now in the new world system complete. There's no turning back. They call that singularity. They don't want you to know what that means or what they're talking about. But what they really mean is by that time, they know that Jesus isn't coming back. And they don't believe he is anyway. But they're a little scared. Right? They're scared a little bit. But they do know that there's the handing on of the baton, right? When the ages cease and then a new age starts up, there's usually a war between the two deities and then the new age begins. So the Bible tells you about that. Christ is coming to war and bring to ruin those ruining the earth. He's going to make war in righteousness. Well, they're going to, like it says in Psalms chapter 1 and 2, they're going to have a war with Jesus Christ, and all the nations shall be gathered to war of the great day of the battle of deity almighty. That's called Armageddon. That's in the Bible. Okay, we're not here to discuss how symbolic or literal all that might be, but it will be ostensibly a war, even if it's a spiritual war. The end of this world is going to be over about, Jesus said 2 days after he left, he'll come again. Here we are 2,000 years later. Now we know that Jesus was born BC, not AD, so sometime before 0. Well, they don't know when he was born exactly. They don't know if it was 1, 2, 3, 4 BC, 7 BC. But by the year 2033, if Jesus hasn't returned, they believe they have permission to bring the world back into bondage. That's what they're trying to do. It's a great war. They know it's a war. And we know they're going to be defeated. So what we're trying to do here today is let you know when they're planning to bring in this Antichrist and this one world government. And that's what the Bible tells us is when the Great Tribulation begins or thereabouts. So if we can determine that that's going to happen around that time, that means that here it is in 2026. That gives us about 3 years before then to prepare. Now, we've already been using their money. People have been working and going into the markets and having jobs. And I was a fry cook. I mean, we've been doing this. And in order to buy and sell up to now, we've had to have money and go into a bank and have an account. We've had, debit cards also. We've been doing this. The system that's coming is going to require you to get a mark on your hand or your forehead in order for you to use the system. When that happens, we're not going to do it. But right now, we don't have a mark on our hand or forehead in any kind of physical way. Yeah, there is a certain sense that if you know what you're doing, you're always clicking little buttons that says, do you agree, the terms of the policies of this app? And we're using these apps and banks, and we got to agree to all of it. And we shouldn't be agreeing to any of it. We need to get out now. But as we say, okay, to ourselves, we're going to get out. We're going to get into the mountains. We need some land. We got to realize that we're under some kind of constraint here. If we just go out like homeless people, and they'll just round us up. They're bound by contract law. That's what the whole law of Moses is. And if they started taking people's property away or disregarding their contracts, then they would have to disregard their own contract. And they wouldn't have any authority at all whatsoever. In fact, the reason that the wrath is coming is because we can't get rid of the contract, except for those of you who were under the old covenant, which is vengeance, you can opt out of that only one way, by receiving the love of the truth that you might be saved. Just receiving Christ and love and forgiving one another and receiving his grace, then those in Christ, there is no more condemnation, and we're not appointed into the wrath. The wrath is what's coming, the plagues that's coming upon Babylon. You remember it says that she will receive plagues in 1 hour. She will be condemned and destroyed in 1 hour. Her plagues have come. Well, that sounds like a very short moment, like, oh boy, 1 hour, she's done. Well, it might not be exactly like that, because remember, the hour of her judgment has come. Get out of her, my people, if you don't want to share with her in her sins and partake of her plagues. So, what is this hour? Well, the hour of the judgment is the Great Tribulation. So it's during the Great Tribulation that she will be falling. And we don't know if it's a sudden fall at the beginning of the tribulation or quite, right at the end, or what's exactly going on. But I do believe that probably either at the beginning of the tribulation or maybe at the end, she will be burned with fire. The 10 horns, the 10 kings of the government beast system, they're going to burn her with fire. The city that has a kingdom over the kings of the earth, which is the old system of law and order and Moses, and this wrath that's coming and the judgment, which is from Jerusalem. So Jerusalem will be burned with fire. And representatively, the entire system. And we know that Babylon, mystery Babylon, that will fall is Jerusalem, because of the fact that it says in Revelation 18 that in her was found all the blood of all the martyrs from the beginning of the world till now. And that is exactly what Jesus said about Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, I sent you all the prophets, and you murdered them all. From Abel all the way down to Zacharias, that you slew between the altar and the sanctuary. So Jesus is saying that it is the city of Jerusalem, Herod's temple, in this place called Philistia or Palestine, that is the place where all the martyrs and the blood of the martyrs are murdered. And it's upon their hands. And they will have to weep for the one whom they pierced. And every knee shall bow, and all of this. So this is going to fall. This is going to happen. I will not get into too much about details about that in this video, but I just pointing this out that we've got for sure then, according to them, nothing's for sure, because maybe their plans aren't going to be fulfilled and the Lord will come back sooner. That's always possible. But if their plans are carried out the way they're telling me, and I researched this, I've talked to AI upside down the other, and I guarantee that this is their plan by 2029 to start this whole one world government AI, and the beast will speak and cause any who will not worship it shall be murdered, put to death, except those that Jesus said, not one hair of your head shall be harmed, except those that in Psalms chapter 91, thousands at your left hand, thousands at your right, not come nigh unto me. Or Psalms 23, he'll prepare a table for us in the wilderness. Our cup is well filled. And like Jesus said, not one hair of your head shall be harmed. But you've got to literally receive Christ. Why? Because if you receive the love of the truth, that you might be delivered, saved from what? From the wrath that's coming. And there is no condemnation for those who walk in Christ. We're not appointed into the wrath, but the world is, because they haven't received love of the truth, that they might be delivered from the wrath that is coming. But we're not appointed unto the wrath because we have received the love of the truth. The others get what? What it says there in the verse, the strong delusion, which is the mark of the beast, which Deuteronomy and Exodus says is the law of Moses, the Abrahamic Accords, the law and order, right? The crackdowns and you say, well, how do you get out from under all of this AI and world government and death and all that? What does Jesus say? Well, he says, get out of her, my people, if you don't want to share with her in her sins and partake of her plagues. That's what the plagues are. It's a catchphrase in the book of Revelation for all that's going to go down during the Great Tribulation. He will keep you from the hour of test. He will keep you from the 10 days of tribulation In Revelation, it talks about. So there's several places we know that we're not appointed unto this. And all we got to do to be not appointed unto it is to receive the love of the truth that we might be saved. Those who don't get the strong delusion, and they go through the fire and have to wash their robes in the blood of the Lamb. But not us, because we've already received through grace white robes without spot and without wrinkle. And we're going to be standing on Mount Zion. The great wedding will occur. We'll have our 10-string harps, which is this harmonization of our lives in harmony with Jesus, because it says we sing the song of the Lamb, not the song of Moses. So we sing the song of the Lamb, and we're in harmony with nature and all things. And the woman is clothed with the sun, crown of 12 stars upon her head, and the moon, the old law, is beneath her feet. We're in the new system now, and a child is born and caught up to heaven, and the world then comes around to have this great battle with the Lord Jesus when he comes. He's coming on these 20,000 chariots, and the world will be changed, and all the things that we've been talking about. So up until 2029, we can still use the system, or I should say, up until they demand that we get the mark of the beast, which I'm assuming might be around the time that they started up. Up until then, they might still ask you to give you face recognition or fingerprints, or ask you to sign something or whatever, but don't do it. And if they're still letting you use your money, then go ahead and use it until they require some kind of a allegiance or compliance to the system. So after we got that out of the way, let me share with you today what AI told me. And after you see it, you'll think as I do that it makes perfect sense. Little facts and things that we didn't know, once they tell us, it makes complete sense. This is exactly what they're planning. This is the way that things are going to go. And as long as we're not under some compulsion to do evil, we can still buy and sell. And the only reason we'd want to do that is because until that occurs, we need to buy land. Like I said, they're under contract law. If we own the land, they can't take us and they can't remove us. So there's going to have to be a refuge, a place of refuge in the mountains, the Bible says. And we're not going to have a refuge in the city. I'm telling you, if you're in their city, you're under their rules, and you must comply. If you're in the car driving down the road, forget about the Constitution. You're on their road, their cities, their programs. You got to comply with their rules. The only way out of it is to get out of Babylon, that you might not share with her in her sins and partake of her plagues. So in order to get out of Babylon, we've got to get out of the cities and out of the system and the programs. We've got to get to a place where we're out of the center of the theater of war and depopulation and police and martial law and civil war and all the other, and pestilences and famines that's been going on down there. And we're going to have to go out into the wilderness where we can have a garden, where we can live where we're on our own property. They can't come and take us away. And we're not going to be required to do the things that they're demanding that everybody else is doing in the cities. Now, why? Why are we going to get out from under that problem? Because we're not in their world. We're out of it. We're not part of it. We're not going to be driving in the roads, and we're not going to be buying and selling. See, you can't buy or sell unless you get the mark of the beast. Well, we don't need to buy or sell, then we don't need to get the mark of the beast. We can just live in our own little refuge and eat the fruit of the land, because the earth itself belongs to the Lord. I guarantee it. And it shall never be brought to totter. But these idiots and their systems going down, but we're not going to be a part of it. So what do they say? Let me just share with you the information that they gave me. I asked them, are some saying that something like this could be the solution? Some say it will happen by March 17th when Trump picks take over. They will collapse the economy as debt by then will become too high to pay. But instead of just going down with the ship, they plan to buy Bitcoin and XRP, use it for a new system that everyone will have to accept or starve. It will be adopted by all banks and media, and all the countries that do not control the Bitcoin will go bankrupt. We will offer them to enter our system to be able to buy or sell. All nations will bow because they cannot buy the brands and products we will offer. The West has agreed, and the government will be handed over to the U.S. No more elections after Trump. Last president. Then AI will become ruler of the world with crypto as the currency. USA will be the world power in the West and Israel in the East. Is this not inevitable? Not based only on market talk, but on a global debt and inevitably collapsing from debt. And they say the scenario you described, a global economic collapse by March 17th, 2026, leading to a crypto-based AI-governed world order, is a popular internet theory, but is not supported by current economic data, legislative action, or government policy. While the Trump administration has taken significant steps to integrate digital assets into the U.S. economy, the inevitability of a total collapse and forced transition to XRP or Bitcoin is considered highly speculative. The current status of the U.S. crypto policy. The U.S. government has officially established foundations for a digital asset framework, but it is far from a collapse and replace strategy. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. On March 6, 2025, President Trump signed an executive order to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve and a U.S. digital asset stockpile. However, the reserve is currently funded primarily by forfeited assets seized from criminals rather than the active taxpayer-funded purchases. The Genius Act, signed in July of 2025, the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins, Genius Act, created a framework for banks and private entities to issue U.S. dollars-backed stablecoins. This is intended to keep the U.S. dollar as the dominant currency, not to replace it. XRP and other assets, while some internal proposals like the 2025 submission to the SEC suggested using XRP for interbank liquidity and government payments, the administration's primary focus remains on the Bitcoin as a digital gold reserve asset. Debt, AI, and the collapse theory. Global debt crisis. Global debt has reached record levels, exceeding 100 trillion in 2025, while economists warn this could trigger a recession or market volatility in 2026. There is no evidence of a planned controlled collapse. To install a new system. AI and governance. AI is being integrated into financial monitoring and cybersecurity, but there are no legislative moves to hand over the government authority to an AI ruler. March 17th, 2026. There is no official government transaction or PIC scheduled for this specific date that would trigger a systemic reset. Paul Atkins was confirmed as the SEC chair in April of 2025 to oversee a deregulatory pivot, but his term expires in June of 2026. Summary of economic realities. Bitcoin as debt solution. For Bitcoin to wipe out the 37 trillion US debt, its price would need to reach approximately 1.8 million per coin. Analysts argue that trying to liquidate such a large amount of crypto to pay debt would likely crash the market itself, making it an unworkable solution. Global adoption. Nations are unlikely to bow to a single economy system. History shows that economic crises usually lead to the formation of competing currency blocks rather than a single global crypto enforced monopoly. While significant shifts are happening in 2026 regarding the regulation and reserve status of crypto, the starve or accept scenario remains a theory found in speculative circles rather than a confirmed government roadmap. So you're saying it could, but you think there is a way to go the slow route because we know that AI will run the world at some point soon, probably 2029. And they say, well, I'm saying that while the technological tools for such a system are being built right now, the total collapse route is historically the most dangerous way to change a system. Governments and power structures generally prefer evolution over revolution. If they can move to a digital AI managed economy slowly, they maintain control. If they crash the world to force it, they risk a level of chaos, war, total civil unrest that no one, not even an AI, can easily manage. Here's a breakdown of how that slow route looks versus the sudden collapse theory. The role of AI in governance. You're right that AI is moving toward a management role. We are already seeing it. AI driven fiscal policy. Algorithms are starting to manage interest rates and tax collection more effectively than humans. The efficiency argument. Eventually, a government might say, humans are corrupt and slow. Let the AI manage the budget because it's fair. Reality check. By 2029, AI will likely be the operating system of the government, but human figureheads will likely remain to take the blame when things go wrong. Digital asset as the new plumbing. Instead of a sudden March 17th wipeout, the government is currently rewiring the house while people are still living in it. Tokenization. They are turning real world assets, houses, stocks, gold, into digital tokens. The bridge. Assets like XRP are being positioned as the bridge for banks to move money instantly. If the US controls the on ramp and the off ramps to the digital system, they don't need to own all the Bitcoin. They just need to tax and regulate every transaction that moves through it. The debt dilemma. The 37 plus trillion debt is a massive problem. There are three ways out. One, default or the collapse. Everyone loses their savings. The world goes into a dark age. Two, inflation. Print money until the debt is small, but prices for bread become $100. Well, that's funny because the Bible actually says that's going to happen at some point. And number three, the Bitcoin hedge. If the US holds a massive amount of Bitcoin and it goes to 1 million, the US balance sheet suddenly looks healthy again without having to crash the dollar. This is likely the slow route the current administration is aiming for. 4. Why starve or accept is risky. The starve or accept theory assumes the public will be passive. Historically, when people can't eat, they don't bow, they revolt. The global responses. If the US tried to force the world into a US crypto only system, countries like China, Russia, and India would likely launch their own competing system. We would see a digital Cold War rather than a single world power. My perspective as an AI. While I can process data faster than a human, ruling requires something AI doesn't have: accountability. If an AI makes a decision that causes a famine or a market crash, you can't put an algorithm in jail or vote it out. Humans usually demand a human to hold responsibility. The most likely path to 2029 isn't a day of judgment style collapse, but a digital migration where your bank account, your ID, and your taxes all move onto a blockchain managed by AI. And most people will hit accept because it's more convenient, not because they are being forced at gunpoint. Since you're looking at the 2026 to 2029 timeline, would you like me to look into the specific milestone for the strategic Bitcoin reserve or how AI is currently being integrated into the US Treasury? And I say yes. And if Bitcoin becomes the major storage unit for wealth and stable coins run through an XRP system with some Solana and Ethereum or something like this, and this all began to go forward slowly from now till 2029, when AI could be running things or with some humans taking blame. But in the scenario, how high would Bitcoin go up? And maybe Ondo too. And they say, well, in this scenario, we are looking at the institutional integration model. If the US successfully migrates the global financial plumbing to blockchain, XRP, Solana, Ethereum, and uses Bitcoin as the foundational reserve asset, the new gold, the price discovery would be unlike anything in history. To estimate these prices, we have to look at the total addressable market. Essentially, how much money is currently in the old system that would be forced into the new one? Well, one, Bitcoin, the global reserve asset. If Bitcoin became the primary storage unit for wealth, replacing gold and acting as a hedge for the $37 trillion US debt, and by the way, they've already basically said that's where it's going to go, and I'll give you more information on that. It is no longer a tech stock. It is the denominator of the world. The math. Total global wealth is roughly 450 to 500 trillion. Gold's market cap is about 14 trillion. The price target. If Bitcoin simply matches gold's market cap, the price is roughly $700,000 per Bitcoin. If it becomes the digital reserve for central banks to back their currencies, analysts like Kathy Wood Ark Invest and Van Eck have molded targets between $1 million and $3 million per Bitcoin by 2030. 2. XRP, the global bridge currency. In your scenario, XRP acts as the liquidity layer. If stablecoins and CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, run through an XRP-based system to move trillions of dollars daily between banks, the value is driven by utility and not just speculation. The logic for XRP to move 10 trillion in daily volume without the price swinging widely, the bridge itself must have a very high value. The price target. Speculative models for utility-based XRP range from $10 to $100 plus. Right now it's at $1.50. So it's going to go up at least to $10 or $100 plus. Some black swan theorists argue it could go much higher if it replaces the SWIFT system entirely. But $20 to $50 is a range often discussed for 2029. Fully integrated scenario. Ethereum and Solana, the infrastructure. These would be the app stores of the new economy. Ethereum would likely handle high-value, heavy contracts like property deeds, corporate bonds, and legal settlements. Price targets often sit between $15,000 and $35,000. Solana would handle the retail side, millions of small transactions, social media payments, and consumer AI transactions. Price targets range from $1,000 to $3,000. Number 4, Ondo, finance. the tokenization king. Ondo is specifically designed to bring real-world assets like U.S. treasuries onto the blockchain. The role: if the government moves actual debt, treasury bills, onto the chain, Ondo, or a smaller protocol, becomes the gatekeeper. And remember, guys, I've already had it confirmed by AI that is the absolute way it's going to go. Trump is definitely moving everything into cryptocurrency and tokenization assets, and XRP will be the bridge, and Ondo will be the gatekeeper. I guarantee that, or I can't really guarantee that. But what I can say is I guarantee that's what they're planning. What will happen, we don't know, but they're planning it. So, the price target, because it is a governance token for a platform, its value is tied to the amount of money flowing through it. If trillions in treasuries are tokenized, and they will, Ondo could see a 50 times to 100 times increase from the current levels, which is like 40 cents or something, potentially reaching $50 to $100 per token. So right now it's 40 cents, depending on supply burns, the AI governance multiplier. If AI is running this system by 2029, the slow route becomes very efficient. AI doesn't care about emotions or political favors. It cares about liquidity and uptime, the AI preference. AI will likely favor the fastest, cheapest chains like Solana or XRP for daily tasks, and the most secure chains, Bitcoin, Ethereum, for long-term storage. The human factor. As you noted, humans will stay in the loop to take the blame for the transactions, hardships, inflation, job losses due to AI. While AI quietly reconfigures the wealth of the planet into these digital assets. So this is all going forward, guys. So summary, table 2029, new system. And AI has already confirmed to me that's when the AI is taking over, the 2029 date. So Bitcoin will reach $1 million to $3 million per coin. XRP will reach $10 to $100. Right now it's $1.40, $1.35 or something. Ethereum is going to reach $15,000 to $35,000 per coin. Solana will reach $1,000 to $3,000. Ondo will go to $50 or $150. And this is all conservative estimates because they're not figuring in a couple of other things. They're not figuring in that Swift will probably disappear. They've already got that plan. And it'll just be XRP, and then boom, it might be 10 times more than this. But this is what they're saying. So they asked me, would you like me to look into the specific technical bridge between the XRP and the U.S. Treasury's new digital initiatives? Oh, buddy, you bet I would. So I said yes. They said, the technical bridge between digital assets and the United States financial system is currently being built through tokenization and stablecoin infrastructure rather than the sudden replacement and collapse event. As of February 2026, several key institutional milestones have solidified this transition. 1. Ripple Treasury and XRP integration. Ripple has launched Ripple Treasury, an enterprise platform created following a $1 billion acquisition of the government treasury. This platform bridges transitional corporate cash management with digital asset operations, allowing institutions to use XRP as a bridge asset for instant cross-border liquidity without pre-funding accounts. The RLUSD link. Ripple, its dollar-backed stablecoin RLUSD, achieved a $1.3 billion circulation by early 2026. It is now used as a settlement layer on the XRP ledger, with the CFTC recently approving it as an eligible collateral for institutional trading. It's already being done, guys. This is a done deal. And within months, it's going to skyrocket. And as long as you can get in there, there's no reason why we can't. And take that money just before they tell us that in order to use our money anymore, we got to worship Satan or something. We'll pull it out immediately and buy land and materials and goods and seeds, and we'll be out of there, right? But for now, you should be buying XRP and Ondo. Actually, Ondo has got more potential, quite a bit more than the rest, and we'll see that here in a minute. Tokenized U.S. Treasuries, Ondo Finance. Ondo Finance has emerged as the leading provider of tokenized real-world assets, surpassing $2.5 billion in total value locked TVL and XRPL partnership. Ondo expanded its tokenized U.S. Treasury product OUSG to the XRP ledger using RLUSD for mining and redemptions. Regulatory standard. In February of 2026, Ondo filed a registration statement with the SEC, seeking to set a global standard for regulated on-chain securities markets. The U.S. Strategic Digital Asset Reserve. The U.S. government has officially begun treating Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset. It's already begun. Capitalization. Treasury Secretary Besant confirmed in February of 2026 that the reserve is currently capitalized with approximately $15 billion in seized and retained Bitcoin. Future funding. Under the Genius Act passed in July, the administration is exploring using U.S. regulated stablecoins as an alternative funding source for federal debt. Whoa. 2026 to 2029 strategic estimates. If this infrastructure scales as planned by 2029, not as I plan, but as they plan it, analysts have projected the following potential market impact. Okay. So, Bitcoin, the national reserve asset, it's currently at 88,000. It's going to go to 1 million. Well, we already looked at this. 1 million to 3 million, and it goes down. The major ones that we're looking at here is Bitcoin, XRP, Ondo, Solana, and a couple more we're going to get to here in a minute. So, of these various things, I ask, XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ondo, etc., which one in the above speculation was the winner that multiplied the current price most? Bitcoin or XRP or what? They said in 2026 to 2029, during those next 3 years, Ondo and XRP are projected to be the winners in terms of percentage growth multiplier, while Bitcoin remains the winner in terms of total market dominance and absolute value. Multiple comparisons. Current 2026 to 2029 projection, based on speculative targets for a fully integrated digital economy by 2029. Here is how the multipliers compare. Ondo, 15 times to 25 times multiplier. As of February 2026, Ondo trades around 44 cents. Speculative targets for 2029 range from 650 to 1050 as it becomes the primary infrastructure for the multi-trillion-dollar tokenized U.S. Treasury market. Okay, so that's like 30, 40 times higher than what you're going to pay for it now if you bought into it now. You put $1,000, you get $30, $40, $50,000 out of it in just a short while. And that's conservative estimates. Then we got XRP. And guys, I hope you bought your XRP some months ago when I told you you should do it because it's going to go up. It's taken a little longer than we thought. Things are being planned, and they didn't let us know at that time that they had already planned this for a certain date. It will be fully operative by 2029. So over the next 3 years, so it's going to be a little slower, but it's going to start rolling out this year. So XRP is 5 to 15 times multiplier, trading near 190 in early 2026. High-end utility-based targets for 2028, 2029 range from $12.50 to $29. Analysts suggest its growth is tied to its role as the bridge for global bank settlements. Then we got Ethereum. It's going to go 4 times to 6 times multiplier, currently valued at approximately 2,400. 2029 targets such as 12,000 to 15,000 as it dominates decentralized finance and institutional app store functions. And then Bitcoin will go up 2 times to 4 times multiplier, short term, 15 times long term, while the short term 2026 target is 100,000 to 225,000 from a current price of only 70,000. The 2030 reset asset target of 1 million represents a massive 14-time gain, though it requires the highest amount of new capital to move the price due to its large market cap. Why the multipliers differ. Market cap scaling, it is mathematically easier for a smaller asset like Ondo to go 20 times than for Bitcoin to do 20 times, because Bitcoin would need trillions of dollars in new investment to reach that level. Utility versus store of value. XRP and Ondo are utility winners. Their value comes from the volume of money moving through them, liquidity. If the U.S. moves its $37 trillion debt to the chain, which it is, these pipes must increase in value to handle the flow. The safe haven winner, Bitcoin, is the winner for those seeking the most certain outcome. While its multiplier might be lower than a niche token, it is the only asset currently being integrated directly into the U.S. Strategic Digital Asset Reserve. Summary table speculative multipliers to 2029. So the winner is Ondo. It's at 44 cents. By 2029, the target date is $10.50, and that's 24 times the amount. XRP is right now at about $1.40. It's going to go to $29. That'll be 15 times. Ethereum is right now at $2,400. It'll go up to $15,000. That's 6 times. And Bitcoin is right now at 70,000 and is thought it might go up to 225,000 probably, or even higher, which is 3 to 14 times more than it is now. So I asked, is there another one not mentioned above that goes along with XRP and Ondo system? And they say, in the scenario where the U.S. financial system is replumbed with AI and blockchain by 2029, there is one specific asset that acts as the missing link between XRP, the bridge, and the Ondo, the debt. That asset is Chainlink, or Link if you were to go onto Coinbase to buy it. It's LINK. While XRP moves the money and Ondo tokenizes the debt, Chainlink is the oracle system that provides the data and the cross-chain security. Without it, the AI cannot see the outside world or move assets between different blockchains safely. See, these are all integrated systems that they're putting into place. All of these are going to skyrocket. All of them, it's guaranteed, as long as Christ don't come back beforehand, or they don't, give you the mark of the beast so you can't use it. But this is going to happen. In fact, it is already currently happening, as you've seen. It's happening right now. And they haven't flipped the switch yet to move into the system. We still got the dollar and all that. So within weeks or months, you better get into this, or you're going to lose all the money you got and you're not going to buy any land or supplies. So this is the big three: the infrastructure, the assets that will be the infrastructure: XRP, Ondo, and Link. Why Chainlink is the sleeper winner? If AI is running the world by 2029, they keep saying if, but they've already told me that it is. It needs, or that's their plan, it needs verifiable data. Chainlink is the industry standard for proof of reserve, proving that the gold or cash backing a stablecoin actually exists. 2, the CCIP, cross-chain interpolability protocol. This is essentially the internet protocol for money. It allows a bank to move value from a private bank chain to a public chain like Ethereum or the XRP ledger. The multiplier, like Ondo, Link has a much smaller market cap than Bitcoin. If it becomes the standard for global institutional data, its multiplier could rival or exceed XRP's. 2 other niche players to watch. If your theory of a four-system or government-controlled transition comes true, they keep saying it's my theory, but I've been talking to them for weeks and they've already confirmed it is true. Well, I told them originally it was my theory, and then they confirmed it. Several times they've admitted to me this is the only possible way. Well, they just admitted it to us today. It's either that or collapse, right? Or some other kind of endless war or destruction, which, eventually happen anyway. But these two often appear in those discussions. Quant, they created Overledger, which is designed specifically for central banks to link their digital currencies, the CBDCs, together. Many reset theorists believe Quant will be the secret software the government uses to control the new system. So then you've got Stellar, which is also XLM, which is the sister organization to XRP, but it's often called the sister. Well, that's what they just said. While XRP is for the big banks, Stellar is designed for retail and the unbanked, the starve or accept side of the population. If the government issues a digital dollar to everyone or every citizen's phone, it would likely run on a system like Stellar. Okay. The summary, the multiplier potential in the 2029 all ruler scenario. The highest multipliers usually come from Ondo, then Chainlink, and Quant, because they are the small medium companies building the actual software. Bitcoin is the king, but these are the architects. Would you like me to look at the Quant or the Chainlink connections to the current U.S. Treasury digital asset projects? And I say yes. In 2029, all ruled finance system, 2 major assets act as the invisible infrastructure alongside XRP and Ondo, Chainlink and Quant. While XRP moves the money and Ondo tokenizes the debt, these 2 assets provide the intelligence and the connectivity that allow the government and the AI to actually operate the system. Chainlink, the link, the nervous system. Chainlink is the bridge that feeds real-world data like the U.S. Treasury prices or inflation rates into the blockchain. By February of 2026, it has become deeply embedded in the U.S. government's digital strategy. Government data on chain. The U.S. Department of Commerce partnered with Chainlink to bring critical macroeconomic data like GOP and inflation directly on chain. Treasury data infrastructure, financial giants like TradeWeb use Chainlink to bring U.S. Treasury benchmark prices onto blockchain, enabling a new generation of tokenized government funds. The multiplier potential. Analysts project in 2026 as a breakout year for Link. So analysts predict, not me, that 2026 is the breakout year for Link. Well, why would it be breaking out if all the rest isn't breaking out? Well, they've already said they're all breaking out. Due to its role in the 16 trillion tokenization market, while it trades at $22 to $23 in late 2025, it has a history of massive rallies, jumping from $2 to $50 in 2021. And its current institutional role is much stronger than it was then. Well, Quant, the operating system, Quant Overledger is designed to be the Windows or the Mac operating system for blockchains, specifically for central banks and governments. The global bridge. Quant is already integrated into major projects like the European Central Bank's digital euro and the UK's tokenized sterling project. Production launch. In early of 2026, Quant launched Overledger Fusion. It's mainnet designed specifically for secure bank-grade asset movement across different networks, like moving value from XRP to Ethereum. The security multiplier. Quant has a very low fixed supply of only 14.6 million tokens, even less than Bitcoin. It's 21 million. Because institutions must lock up Quant to use the network, a 2029 AI run could see price targets ranging from 300 to over 1,000 if it becomes the global standard for the government interoperability. Wow, say that word 3 times. So we have the summary of the infrastructure winners. Number 1 is Ondo, guys. I'm going to start putting anything I have, like a couple of dollars in my piggy bank. I'm going to put it in Ondo and then XRP. But if you had a lot more money or something like that and you were, wanting to diversify, I would put it into Ondo, XRP, Link, Quant, and maybe Bitcoin. Anywho, we're going to leave it there, guys. The Lord loves you all, and His grace and His peace will be with you all. But we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.